All right, let's talk about a good story right now in the NBA. That's the Cleveland Cavaliers. 8-0, off to the best start in the last 48 years. They're second in the league in offensive rating as we record this, fifth in defensive rating. They've got a point differential of plus 13. They have to note this, Ben, just in interest of full transparency here. They have had a pretty favorable schedule if you look at it of late. I mean, they've got wins over Toronto, Detroit, and Washington. They beat Orlando, which was without Paolo Banchero in that game. They got 2 wins over the Bucks, which we're going to get to in a few minutes. But you play the teams that are in front of you, right? And they've been playing them pretty damn well. Are you buying the Cavs now as a top-tier contender in the Eastern Conference?
He's buying the Cavs coming into the season mostly because of that continuity factor that I mentioned. Look, they've got talent. Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. That's a quality four. There aren't a lot of teams around the league that have a better top four than that group. Now, I know it's not like none of those guys are really top 10 level players, so it's not like they have A plus talent, but a lot of B plus and A minus talent will get you a long way. They played really hard at consistently all of last season as well, at least for most of it. I think there was some grumbling around the coaching that maybe caught up with them towards the end, but like that was a pretty reliable night to night product, even though they were dealing with a lot of injury issues to start last season or throughout last season with Garland, especially, right? Now you look at this group, Kenny Atkinson comes in and it's pretty simple, very Warriors like tweaks from him, right? It's we're going to play faster. We're going to play more guys off the bench. We're going to try to keep the minutes off of our stars a little bit if we can. We're going to spread the ball around so it doesn't have to be the Donovan Mitchell show. It's a little bit more of like guys like Ty Jerome chipping in off the bench, trying to have 8 different guys who could be scoring threats on any given night. That's sort of been what's sustaining them here in the early going. I like that formula for them because they already had a really good defense. It was more about picking up the flow, picking up the pace, and sharing the ball a little bit better on offense. It's led to good stuff. They've also shot the ball really well. And so I think if you're looking for asterisks like you were in terms of strength of schedule is a clear one, right? They've also shot the three really well to start the season. So that could come back to earth a little bit and that could kind of change some of these results. But the other night they got a big punch from the Bucks who needed a victory. Damian Lillard's got that shot with like less than 10 seconds left. It feels like it's going to be the game winner. Cleveland comes down and Donovan Mitchell matches it, right? Just cool, calm, and collected. It's a little bit of a broken play. He got to his spot and drilled it. Those are the signs to me that everybody's on the same page in Cleveland after that, little bit of drama with the coach last year. And, they're going to be in the mix for sure for a home court advantage spot in the East. And we'll see who else can challenge them because right now that's a big question. That second tier of the East behind Boston is looking pretty lonely. Like who else is in there besides Cleveland right now?
Yeah, I mean, you expect the Knicks to get there, but they're dealing with their, chemistry issues. They try to figure out their new roster. I love how Kenny Atkinson is using his whole roster. They've got 9 guys that are averaging 19 or more minutes per game. You go down to about 15 minutes per game, they play 10 guys in that mix. So he's using all these guys. Donovan Mitchell, who last year was at 35 minutes per game, he's sub 30 this year. Like, if you can keep him in that sweet spot, that's going to make him even fresher when he gets to the postseason. You mentioned Darius Garland. I don't know if he's going to shoot 45% from 3 all season long, but he's been really good for this team. And that is a credit to Darius Garland, who, look, there were whispers that maybe after Donovan Mitchell signed that long-term extension, that Darius Garland would look to get traded because there was genuine concern about whether or not 2 smallish guards in Garland and Mitchell could coexist. Was Mitchell better off playing next to like an Isaac Okoro or a Karis LeVert rather than Darius Garland? For now, Garland has put that conversation off to the side. He's shooting lights out. He's playing quality defense. It's just working with that mix. And you mentioned the tweaks from Kenny Atkinson. There is a Warriors element to it, including having your bigs operate as playmakers. You look at some of the numbers of Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. They haven't changed all that much. But you watch some of these games, and you see some of that like Draymond in Evan Mobley, right? Where he's operating at the top of the key. He's a facilitator. He's the guy moving the ball. Like we all have said, and it's obvious, that the next step in Evan Mobley's game, like statistically, is the 3-point shot. He's averaged only about 2 per game, shoot like 40%, but whatever. It's a small number. That's the statistical jump. But if he can operate as a playmaker out there, like that's going to be a huge advantage to Cleveland if he can just be kind of your offensive hub and not have to put the pressure on Mitchell, Garland, some of the guards to be playmakers in addition to scorers. So I just love Like, I thought firing JB was odd. You get to the second round of the playoffs, you get beat by Boston. What'd you do wrong there? But, Kenny Atkinson is a guy that, since he ended wrongly for him in Brooklyn, has deserved another opportunity. He gets it, and you're seeing why he's a good coach, because he's adding his own flavor that is making the Cavaliers a better team.
Oh, instant impact. There's no question. I'm probably a little bit lower on some people than what Evan Mobley can do as a playmaker, can do as an offensive threat. But the benefit of moving him into that role, like you're describing, is it creates space for everybody else. One of their big problems is they wanted to play these two big lineups, and the court gets crunched, right? They get easier to defend into the postseason. You empower Mobley with the basketball on the perimeter. That's just one fewer body. His guy has to go with them. Now you've got more room around the basket to kind of operate and to get stuff there. So I think it was a smart and a well thought out idea by Kenny Atkinson. I still wonder, though, and I was going to ask you this. I mean, the knock on them is the two small guards, like you mentioned, and then having the two bigs. Are they versatile enough with this depth now to get over the top in the playoffs, or are they going to hit the wall when they face one of these teams that's sort of built around wings, like the Boston Celtics, right?
We're not gonna know until April, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get a little bit of an indicator when they play Boston in their regular season games, when they play the two matchups with Oklahoma City, because Oklahoma City is basically a Boston clone out in the Western Conference. So I think we'll learn more then, but that would be my concern. When you get to the playoffs and a good to great team gets to sink its teeth into only you and how to beat you over a 7-game series, that's going to be the challenge. Will they be able to take advantage of a Garland-Mitchell backcourt? You have to change things up there. Can you play Mobley and Allen together against a team that might play Jason Tatum at power forward and Al Horford at center, for stretches, Porzingis at center? Like, these are going to be the open questions. So right now, spectacular. All credit to Kenny, all credit to Mobley, all credit to Garland. The guys there are doing phenomenal things. I hope they're able to keep this rotation 9 or 10 deep, because that's going to really take pressure off Mitchell. And you saw at the end of last season, he was getting burned out. Like, he had to do a lot for this team last year. If you can keep him fresh for the playoffs. Yeah, beat up too.
Yeah, he gets burned out and beat up, and it's a regular thing. So I'm totally with you on keeping the miles off him. They remind me a little bit of Minnesota last year. Lots of questions about, are they too big? Is it going to work in the playoffs? And they get through Denver. And then, they had a stand in the Western Conference Finals. I mean, it got away from them, but I thought that was a competitive series. I could see a similar situation for Cleveland, where they have enough in terms of talent, even if it doesn't fit perfectly, to get to a conference finals. And it is then, what about that next step? Because I think they match up fairly well with New York, Philly, Milwaukee, whoever you would want to throw into that conversation, if they can even get there. I feel like Cleveland's got enough in those spots to, still be favored potentially in some of those series, especially if they have home court, because they got a good home court advantage. That crowd gets loud.
Yeah, it's a great crowd. Boston, I would think, is the matchup that's problematic for them on paper. Boston's problematic for everybody. Like, that's the reality. They were 16-3 in the playoffs last year. They're a problem for everybody.